Good day and welcome to a new video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Heyo, and today you're joined by me and Strix-artist, is it?
Yes, it's Strix.
Give me a minute. Strix-artist at deviantart.com. You can find her work here, and she does amazing kind of animals and all sorts of things here. So yeah, tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I obviously love fine art and traditional mediums. I was from a very young age, like all of us who are artists. I mean, you have that passion; you just can't leave things alone. So
Hmm.
you're always wanting to sketch, and what you see, you're always scribbling down and doodling. And as you get older, it just becomes an everyday part of you. So I went through my school life and always knew that I wanted to do something creative. It's that drive. You have ideas, and some people use music, some people write, and for me it was visual. It was
Hmm.
drawing. And when I finished my schooling, as everybody does, you're out in the big world and you think, oh my God, I've got to, earn a living. So earning a living with artistic skills is not the easiest thing in the world. That is probably the first thing I would warn anybody. But there are opportunities out there, and I was lucky in that I decided that I wanted to do jewelry because, well, I thought that there'd be money in that, and I found out very early on that it's not quite the case. It was a case of going around and finding somebody who would train me for a start.
Hmm.
So tenaciousness, don't give up, and
Hmm.
don't worry about being knocked back. And people, just because they don't appreciate your particular style doesn't mean that you're not good.
Hmm.
So my first thing is, if you're going out into the world, um, just keep going, keep trying. Don't be disheartened, because there is going to be somebody that you're a fit for. So find something that interests you. Um, my thing was, I was actually taken on by somebody who was a craftsperson rather than industry. And that's where I found that the starving artist for a jeweler is the same as for a fine artist. It's a
Hmm.
very tough industry. And I learned as much as I could in a very quick time span, about 18 months from that person. And they were lovely. But then I went on to the industry, and I was able to, I was reasonably successful there, and made enough contacts that I went independent.
Awesome.
And
Hmm.
so that was my income.
Hmm.
And that has now enabled me to spend more time doing the fine art, which is my passion.
Hmm.
So
Awesome.
finding a job that you can actually express yourself in is difficult but worth pursuing.
Hmm.
And there's many different avenues for artists.
Yeah, these days they're always changing and growing. There's all these online things like Patreon and Kickstarters and things like that, and there's so much avenues to get into these days. Um, hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, you can look for unusual
Hmm.
avenues to pursue. And I went independent because I found a niche.
Hmm.
And my niche was, I can make metal look like, well, it's flora and fauna, and make it come alive. And that enabled me to uh, follow my passion of the natural world, but still earn a living. And it was a niche market. There were very few that could match the work I did. And also, I would advise people to be able to do more than one thing.
Hmm.
I was a designer and I could make the master patterns. So a company employed me for a specialist job, and they employed one person instead of two. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I was quite expensive,
Mm.
for a single person, but I
Yeah.
was a lot cheaper than two and a lot
Mm.
easier. So the more skills you can get, the more employable you are.
Definitely.
And the same as mediums, digital art and traditional art. Um, Learn as much as you can and find something that you can do that others can't. And if you can do more than one thing, people are going to look at you seriously because they want to save money. And if they can employ you instead of, two or three people, you've got a serious chance of getting those commissions and getting the job.
Mm. Definitely. Yeah, the more skills, the merrier, I've definitely, tried a few things here and there before I actually got to where I am now. I've done a bit of 3D here and there. I've done a bit of like more like vector art kind of based stuff. But in the end, this is, what I really wanted to do is, character design, illustrations, really free form kind of stuff. And, learning all those other things have been great to do as well to improve my skills further and further. Yeah, so for you, how long did it take for you to get from, being working with other people to being independent?
Well, it took. I've always been very ambitious,
Mm.
and I also have a very strange side to me. I have OCD, um,
Yeah.
and which works wonderfully for my job. But it means that if I want to do something, I can't let go of it.
Mm.
So I would say it took me about 5 years in the
Mm.
industry to go, literally progress through to running the design department,
Mm.
and then having enough contacts to,
Mm.
and I was being requested outside of obviously the company I worked for to do independent projects, and I just had so much work coming in that I decided that was for me, and it was far more lucrative. There's always the problem that any of us will face as artists, whether you take a lower income and work for somebody, or whether you want to take the risk of being independent and suffer the feast and famine a problem,
Mm.
where you have a lot of work or big projects that pay a lot of money, and then you may have a very quiet spell. So when you've got bills to pay, you have to seriously work out which is most sensible for you and safest. You don't want to suddenly find yourself not able to, pay your water bill,
Mm.
or your internet, even more important.
Exactly. If you run out of internet,
Yeah, exactly.
you've run out
Life
of.
ends.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for me, like being this wanting to be a YouTuber kind of a thing. I won't be able to post videos anymore. Then it would be like devastating for me. But yeah, you're right. You got to play it smart. I mean, don't risk it all, but give it enough of a go. For me, I'm in a situation where I'm working a 9 to 5 job at the moment, which is the safest option for me because I've got to pay these bills to keep things going. I don't want I don't want the lights to turn off here, or the us to be homeless or anything like that. So I've got to work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I was fortunate, like I said, I mean,
Mm.
as a jeweler, I was still able to use my artistic skills, but not everybody has that option. So my advice to them is, pay your bills, but make sure you leave time in your life for your art, because at the end of the day, it's for artists, it's what defines us. It's an obsession that's on the inside to express ourselves visually. We can't leave it alone,
Mm.
and we're always growing. Um, it's the beauty of art that it doesn't matter from when you're 7 to the age of 70. You're always getting better. So it's a continual growth. It's not like athletes or other skills where people peak and then go downhill. We're artists. As we get older, we will just continue to get better. So that's always reassuring. So even if we don't start off in a art-based job, we can always end up there, given time and enough practice. Confidence as well in yourself.
Exactly. I mean, I heard about this story from Bobby Chio's videos. He was talking about the 70-year-old that took one of his courses, and yeah, he actually ended up doing commissions for people at the age of 70. I'm just like, I'm really blown away by that. He, it's always been his passion. It's always been in him, obviously. It's just something that he didn't have enough confidence to pursue. So when he did pursue it, he had all those skills in him already. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was lucky. I came from a family of artists. I mean, 5 generations back. I was a child sat at the dining room table looking at my great-grandfather's, oil painting on the wall and sort of daubing my own version of it. Didn't look anything like it, but I knew they could do it. They're my family. I could do it. So I did have that confidence and support from my own family who understood the passion. And it's just because your family are artists doesn't mean everybody is, an artist. My sister isn't. So, but I was, but it gave me the confidence because I saw what they could do. My mother was an amazing sculptor and painted and drew on silk as well. My grandmother was an amazing artist, landscape artist. My great-grandfather was absolutely insane, but was a absolutely wonderful oil artist in his own right. So, I mean, when you see that and see your own family doing it, it gives you confidence. But so that's that side of it. I would advise people to sit back, look at their work and realise that they have a skill that a lot of people don't. And don't let it drop, and be disheartened if you do have setbacks. That confidence is really important to be able to do anything with your art. It's not arrogance or ego. It's just being sure of yourself in that you can capably take on a task and finish it.
Exactly.
But I mean, do you yourself have that willingness to that some people don't, of seeing a task through? That would be the only thing that I've artists that I've met, they don't always finish what they start, and that is probably the because they don't have that confidence, the biggest sort of letdown for them.
Yeah, I definitely I can't like you, I can't let things go. I obviously at times I've got to be like, well, this is not so important to me, so I kind of in order to get this other thing, I have to let that go. But usually most of the time, like for this, I'm making a book. I've got a 14-page book, so I'm up to like page 9, and I'm still going at it. I haven't given up on it, and I just go through with it. I've got to actually finish a painting. Even like I had a art test I had to do for a studio I was applying for, and it ended up that because I didn't have a lot of time, I just handed in what I had then and there, and it ended up I couldn't let it go. I had to actually go back and spend some more time on actually finishing it. So I don't I don't like letting pieces of art or things go. I actually like to see them through to the finish. If I don't see it through to the finish, it's something that either I don't enjoy, like for instance me drawing a car or me drawing just something that I don't usually draw, that I don't really enjoy that much, or it's just I don't know, it's just, it doesn't interest me, things
Yeah.
like that,
Th-
Mm.
that can be the hardest part, I think, as
Mm.
a working artist, especially when you're working for somebody else, is that those projects that you really hate and you're not
Mm.
interested in, and still having to produce something that's good quality.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I know as a jewelry designer that I have my claims to shame,
Mm.
stuff that I really wish I didn't have to do.
Yeah.
But, you're employed to do those things,
Mm.
and you just, hang your head afterwards and hope nobody recognises your work. But
Mm.
but when it comes to the fine art side of things, things that I have absolute control over, and certainly now I'm independent, the biggest thing is I've found, for as a professional, is never miss a deadline and
Mm.
always complete the project, because people never forgive or forget,
Yeah.
if you let them down. I mean, we're bad enough if something turns up late in the post that we've ordered from Amazon. When it comes to business, it's 100 times worse, because there's other people counting on you and other businesses involved. And so, private commissions, you're letting an individual, and that's a personal thing, and really not very nice to do. And when it comes to business, it's your livelihood. So
Mm.
never ever miss a deadline. That would be my advice to people who run their own businesses or are
Mm.
self-employed.
Exactly. You gotta keep up with those deadlines. I definitely, at the moment I'm just making my own deadlines. I've got to produce a video every week or so often, um, to keep you, the audience, happy, and just to also push myself forward as well, because I used to, only produce a video every couple of months, or it could be, once a week for about a month, and I kind of drop off for a little bit, and my art will be here and there, and I'll like stop a project, and it was a bit chaotic, kind of time, but it wasn't really getting anywhere for me. Now I'm actually, pushing this forward. I'm, producing this book slowly. It's actually, each page is coming along. I find that at the moment each page is getting better and better, so eventually I'm going to have to go back and finish those first couple of pages off, and retweak it
Yeah,
and things
but
like that.
that's
Yeah. Hmm?
yeah, that's always a wonderful thing, looking at your own work and seeing it grow. And like you said, when you're doing a big project, you suddenly realize you've grown, and you have to go back and adjust that, on your
Mm.
earlier work. It's those bigger projects that we set ourselves can actually make us realize exactly how far we have progressed.
Hmm. Yeah, it's exciting. I really like to see every page and how it actually has come out, and the final result, and seeing that the grass in this page looks way better back in page one, and every little detail just gets better and better. Um, yeah.
But do you find yourself, as so many of my colleagues and artists do, that you're never quite satisfied, and you always think you can do better, do more, and next time it's always that little bit better, but there's always something.
Hmm.
And some people I know are disheartened by that, but I always look at it that it means that I'm growing, and
Hmm.
if I was ever completely happy with my own work, then I would never get better. It's that dissatisfaction that makes us strive for that little bit more next time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've got to, get better. There's always things and pieces that I'm like, oh, I could have done this better and this better. Um, but I understand. I've never got to get to that place where I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm 100% satisfied with this piece.
Oh, I don't think any good artist is 100%
Mm.
satisfied. And I mean, even down to, I'm just trying to think of one of the greats, Michelangelo. You know, before he died, he actually went through his entire portfolio, everything that existed, and he destroyed so much that he thought wasn't good enough, because he was, you know, worried about, you know, history and how they viewed him, and didn't want the rubbish out there.
Mm.
You know, so, you know, it doesn't matter who we are, we can still look at our work and go, that's not right, or that's not very good, and we can still be critical of our work all through our lives. And I think that's what actually makes an artist improve and grow, and actually makes a true artist, because there's always more out there, and
Mm.
more to learn, and we can always get better. You know, like I said, by the time you're 70, you're going to be better than we are now.
Exactly. Yeah. You just, you gotta just be happy with what you can do now and what skills you have, and happy to be improving and seeing, a way forward. Not just
Yes.
not just dwelling on, making all these mistakes, because we're all humans. We're all gonna make these mistakes, and we just gotta keep looking at them, keep improving at them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're quite right. We all make mistakes. I make them constantly, but it's the fact we can recognise those
Mm.
mistakes means that we have actually learnt from them. And next time we won't be making the same ones, or hopefully not to the same extent. You know, so no, you're quite right. And it's nothing to be disheartened by, quite the opposite. If we can recognise our mistakes, then it means we can improve on them, and hopefully not do the same thing again, and like I said, continue to grow, and hopefully love what we do in the process. That's the thing, the passion.
Hmm. Yeah, you've got to enjoy it. Like I said, I definitely enjoy, creating these characters, seeing the characters interact with each other. I've actually quite liked to build up story and things in my illustrations now. Um, Back when I was like learning, I was just kind of like, oh, let's see how good I can draw this turtle, or see how good I can draw this. Um, Now I'm more like, oh, I want to create something and have story and just something to tell people.
Yeah, yeah. So working on storyboarding, and
Mm.
getting the story that you're creating across, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but do you find that you get tired, and you just sometimes get burnt out? That is one thing that I have found, that sometimes you need to just take a few days off from it, because it can get too much sometimes. And we do take on huge projects as
Mm.
artists, sometimes a bit too much, that can stress us over time.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that too. I always get tired of doing it like all day, every day, kind of a thing sometimes. And there's plenty of things in my life that keep me busy away from it. I've got my little family to look after um, here, so they always keep me motivated and to do other stuff, like spend time with them, and um, other little things during my week that happen.
Yeah.
Little events and things. So there's always things outside of art that keep me motivated when I do come back to keep painting, keep illustrating, um, and for this YouTube stuff that I do, I've got to do other stuff as well. Like I've got to do a little bit of video editing and a little bit of little other stuff. So if I'm not quite in the mood, be like I'm a bit like tired of painting because I've just done like a couple hours painting, or I just need to do something else, I will edit those videos rather than paint all the time. Um,
Yeah.
there's so much of a good thing. It can become a bit boring. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a problem, when that your passion becomes your job and your income. That
mm,
sometimes it can become too much, and it stops. You get tired of it, and it can become repetitive sometimes when it's and you have to do these things to earn your living, and that can be very wearing, that you're doing it as a job. And then when you finish your job, the things, your own personal projects, then can sometimes go on a back burner, and you just need to walk away for a while. So I think it can be hard, having your own projects and also working as well with art.
Yeah, definitely be tiring. I mean, for me, for now, I've got the 9 to 5 job, just, packing things. So it's just, come home and I get to do all my painting stuff, which, I really like it that way at the moment. Yeah, but, doing a bit more when I used to have a bit more time to paint, I'd get into that situation where it was like painting all day and painting, a bit more at night or something, and it would get tiring during the day. I end up doing other things away from art, but I still keep doing it, still pushing and try new things as well. Like if I was bored in this painting, I might try playing around doing another kind of drawing, or just doing something different, like drawing human anatomy, or drawing just something fun, doodles maybe on the side somewhere, just maybe go out for a walk and draw something that I see, doing something interesting and different every now and again, and mixing things up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. There are so many different ways of using, our artistic skills, and whatever we do, it also, teaches us something. But I think, like you said, just going out and finding something to draw sometimes can be really therapeutic. Even, you can just relax and let the worries and the stresses go, and just sort of see what's in front of you, and sketch it and relax. So that side of things, walking away from work, can be really nice.
Yeah, just having that 5 minute 15-minute break, or lunch break, an hour, half an hour, can be relaxing. What I used to do, because back when I didn't have any work, I was just kind of living at home. I had the house myself, so that was back probably 2-3 years ago. I would break up my day, so I'd have the morning routine. I'd do some painting and stuff, and might do a stream or something in the morning, and then I'd have an hour lunch break. And usually in my hour lunch break, I would just sit down and maybe I might read a book and just kind of relax. Sometimes I would also do like some sketches out of a book or something, and yeah, it was quite cool to do that, to just sit down and take a break for about an hour, and then do a couple more hours until my partner came home, and might do something, have tea, and then that was my day, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was quite lucky with my partner because they travelled. So I could be quite selfish when I was younger, and I did spend an awful lot of time, sort of wrapped up in my own world and my own work, and their job took them abroad a lot, an awful lot. And so then my own job did the same thing, and so I was also, that's another thing about business, that there's opportunities in other countries too, so that's always worth looking at. But that sort of traveling did give me that freedom, I guess, from it's a very selfish thing, having to think of anybody else, because there's nobody else around you. They're away, I was away a lot, and obviously it worked for us because we're still married, but maybe that's why it worked, because we didn't actually spend that much time together. But it was it's always been very for me a very consuming thing, that it's everything. My whole life revolves around when I'm doing a job, finishing it. But like I said, I do have this problem with OCD. My family are always worried they're going to come home and find the cat in a box with a label on it. And
Yeah.
it has its advantages in that you complete work, and but the disadvantages are that it can drive you slightly insane at times when projects don't quite work.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, if we can all find our like little quirky things, it's good, like there's always positives and negatives. Yeah, for me, I kind of had the same thing. I can't kind of let go of some pieces. I have to kind of keep going and finish them.
Yeah.
But in doing that, also, I've had to say, no, I can't do this, or no, I can't do that, because, I'm finishing this piece off.
Yeah, yeah.
So
well, that's yeah, you're dead right. That's really important. Being able to work out the time frame you've got and what you can and can't fit in, and you can't take on too much work. Sometimes you have to say no. Rather than burn yourself out. And that is one thing I think all artists we have a tendency to do, is to burn ourselves out, because we are constantly thinking about projects, working on projects, even when we're doing something else like shopping. We got ideas going through our heads, and we're not really concentrating on what we're supposed to be. It never leaves us. So burning out is very difficult.
But I mean, you get through it. Some people get burnt out and then they need to take a 2-week holiday. I mean, it's just like working. You've got to, every now and again, you might need to go on a holiday and just relax and just spend some time away. Maybe spend some time with your family, and things like that. Just every now and again, it really helps. And then come back to your art. You really. From listening, I listened to, I think it was a chat or something. They were like, you gotta live life. You gotta, maybe travel and go, find things exciting, because that will go into your work as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so much to think about. It's not like, for creating good art, it's not just, or creating anything creative. It's not just what you are doing, like drawing, creating, and illustrating, and learning all these techniques. It's also, the little things you see as well, like looking at, for me, I've seen hedgehogs out the back and things from my old flat. Just seeing them scuttle around, that really helped with this book, just to see those actual hedgehogs, and also like, me visiting zoos and seeing animals in real life, and all those things have really brought to, my skills and things. Not just me going and drawing everything here and there. It's also these other experiences that have improved me as an artist.
Finding your inspiration, really. Yeah, and there's so many different areas, like you said, you can just look out the window and see your own garden, or and everybody has different things. When I was younger, I loved the classics, Greek classics, and literature. So reading for me was a big part of my imagination, and anything to do with the Greek plays I read, Aristophanes and all that stuff. And I just loved gods, goddesses, really weird, way out monsters and stuff, and, kids' imaginations. And so sometimes it's looking out the window, sometimes it's reading a book or reading a play. And that sparks, in your head a picture or an idea, or, and that in itself, just reading or enjoying the outdoors, the things around you. We never stop being artists and being inspired, but taking that break and doing something else that can just revitalize us.
Definitely. yeah, it's important, you know. You gotta, yeah, work on, you know, your art skills, but sometimes taking a break is working on your art skills in a way, you know. Um, it's, you know, making you feel good so that you actually will pay attention and, you know, spend time doing it rather than trying to struggle through it for hours on end. And you know, it's not turning out well because you're not feeling good. You know, you can't produce.
Yeah,
Well, I say you can't produce good art on a bad stomach. You know, you've got to.
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You can't force it.
Hmm.
It's something that's got to come naturally, and yeah, if you try and force it, it doesn't usually work very well. That is a drawback when you're actually working for somebody else, that you do have days where you're having to force it, and you know it's not usually that your best work that you produce, but you have to keep that to a minimum if you're being employed, or try to.
Hmm.
So then your home time is your downtime, and you know you do your reading and gaming or something, you know, to sort of just switch off and get your energy back.
Hmm. Definitely. So maybe what's an important lesson someone has taught you?
uh, I would say the most important lesson would be kind to other artists, because we are all in the same boat. And I don't mean just the visual arts, fine art, but I've got friends who are very good writers, published authors, musicians, and we all struggle from the same thing. So sometimes just getting the encouragement from other artists who understand what you're going through can mean an awful lot. And we should do the same for others as they do for us, and help where we can and encourage people.
Hmm.
Because it is a hard life to choose, because we tend to be very sensitive and open to the world and people, to be able to create the things we do, regardless of whether it's writing music or our artwork. And it's, having other support from people who do similar things can mean an awful lot in very stressful times. It's, like I said, not an easy way to make a living.
No, yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to have some sort of support there. Um, for me, I have the support of, you know, my family and um, yeah, other people out there that, you know, I do get a nice comment on, which is quite nice. I really enjoy, you know, getting a quite nice comment on one of my pieces of artwork, or even one of my YouTube videos. Is really, it just, you know, it makes me feel over the moon. Which is great, and I do the same thing for other people too. You know, sometimes I might find a cool YouTuber that I give a comment to, or an artist on like DeviantArt or something, and you know, if I see something I really like, I just, you know, give them a nice feedback.
Yeah, those small things can mean an awful lot to somebody,
Hmm.
because not everybody has the confidence to start with, and just having somebody who appreciates what they're doing can make them go that little bit further. And so, yeah, I think it's a good lesson in life. Just be nice to people, and they'll be nice back. Well, if people were far nicer to each other, the world would be a nicer place. But yeah, just try and be supportive to each other and other artists. And that's meant a lot to me over the years.
Awesome. So what are some of your inspirations?
Well,
You
my
did mention some.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, as a child, I just loved anything to do with Greek and Roman history and myth and legend. So it was, and that is when you start reading the original stories, and they are so strange.
Hmm.
I grew up in a small village in rural Somerset in England. So my world consisted of the countryside and books, that
Hmm.
literally very isolated. And apart from school, which I was one of those strange children that loved school, but probably because everything else in my life was about, being on my own. So, but it was always reading and, the fantasy side of things. And so that was my draw when I was younger. But as I grew older, it's definitely animals. Flora and fauna, I was surrounded by it.
Mm.
It's what I made my living out of, even though as a jeweler, it's always flora and fauna. And I still love animals, but I still have that love of the unusual. And the fantasy side of things, the books, and I read an awful lot, so lots of inspiration from that too. But the natural world, without a doubt, it's there in front of us. How can we not be inspired by it?
Awesome. That sounds great. Yeah, you always find, everyone has their own inspiration. It's great. Yeah, for me, I love animals as well. Yeah, it's cool that you get to do, some jewelry stuff, and you get to do side art and things like that as well.
Yeah. And these days I can actually now spend more time doing the fine artwork that I really love, because, like I said, jewelry for me has always been a way to earn a living, and I've always been very pragmatic about it. Everything I've ever made will at some point be melted down, because people will obviously value the materials more than the artwork. That's the nature of jewelry.
Yeah.
Somebody just doesn't care. They want the gold, the silver, and the gemstones. But when you do artwork, that has no value except for its artwork, and it will outlive us. It's a creation. It's our children almost. It's something we've created that hopefully will, in the future be appreciated by others when we're long gone.
Awesome. That's been me and Strix-artist. Yeah, go check out her gallery. Yeah, anything you'd like to add or say?
Well, it's been lovely talking to you, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of your work, and I will be obviously checking your YouTube channel out on a regular basis.
Awesome, thank you. Well, glad you're gonna check it out. Yeah, thanks for everyone for joining us, whether you joined us on Twitch or whether you joined us on YouTube. Yeah, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.